guys, welcome back to another math lesson with HKR Math and Science. In this video, we'll be continuing on with trigonometry and learning how to solve for the denominator. So by the end of this lesson, we should all know whether we need to use sine, cos, or tan, be able to rearrange an equation to solve for the denominator, and finally be able to evaluate the unknown side length in the denominator. So this lesson is a continuation from last lesson. Last lesson we were solving for the numerator. So for example, if we had cos 50, our unknown was always in the numerator up here. Today our unknown will be in the denominator. So for an example, our x will be down there. We're just learning how to rearrange the equation so we can solve for x here. So that brings us to our first key point. If the unknown value of a trigonometric ratio is in the denominator, you need to rearrange the equation to make the pronumeral the subject. Alright, so let's start by learning how to rearrange this equation here. So I'm going to write down the equation first. We have cos 35 equals 2 over x. Alright, we need to solve for x, we need to make that the subject. So we do that by multiplying both sides by x, and that we can cancel that side out, so that leaves us with x times cos 35 equals 2. And now we need to get rid of cos 35 on the left and bring it to the right, and we do that by dividing both sides by cos 35, because we need to do the opposite to what is up here. And the opposite of multiplication is division. So now we cancel those out, and we're left with x equals 2 over cos 35. And now to work that out, we just put those values into our calculator. So it's 2 divided by cos 35, and we are left with 2.44. Alright, now it's your turn. Let's pause the video here and have a go. Just unpause when you're ready to go through it with me. Alright, so let's start this question off by writing the question down. If I can get it right. Sine 62 equals 3 over x. Yep. And now let's just rearrange it, multiply both sides by x. That gives us x times sine 62 equals 3. And now we're going to divide both sides by sine 62. And that gives us x equals 3 over sine 62. Now let's put that in our calculator to get our final answer. And that will give us 3.40. Give yourself a tick if you got that correct. Alright, now we'll practice this further by using actual triangles, and we just need to find out which symbol to use in this case, sine, cos, or tan. And we're going to use that using the acronym again, so CA, TOA. Make sure you really know this one here. Alright, so in this one we have the opposite and the hypotenuse. That means we will need to use so, and we'll be using the sine. So that means we have sine 35 equals opposite over hypotenuse, so it's 5 over x. And we just need to rearrange that, multiply both sides by x again. So x times sine 35 equals 5. And now divide both sides by sine 35. And that will bring us to x equals 5 over sine 35. And we just substitute that into our calculator. So 5 divided by sine 35, that will give us 8.72. Alright, now let's try the next one as well. We need to find for both x and y this time. Let's start with y, the hypotenuse. So we have opposite over hypotenuse, so that's sine once again. So for x, it is sine 28 equals 19 over y. And if you rearrange that, that will just be y equals 19 over sine 28. And that will give us 19 divided by sine 28 equals 40.47. Now that's the first part. Now let's solve for x. X will be, that is the opposite over adjacent. So that means we use tan because it is TOA, opposite and adjacent. So tan 28 equals 19 over x. Rearrange that, that will give you x equals 19 over tan 28. Put that into the calculator, that will give us a value of 35.73. Now once again, it's your turn. Just pause the video here, have a go at these. If you do have any questions while you're trying to do it, just let me know, let one of us know in our video call. Alright, so let's start with the question on the left here. We don't need the opposite here, so that leaves us with the adjacent and the hypotenuse, because that's the longest side. Alright, so if we have the adjacent and hypotenuse, let's write down the acronym again. That means we're using that middle one over here. So we're going to use cos and the angle 29 equals adjacent, which is 7 over x. If you rearrange that, that will give you x equals 7 over cos 29. I've gone over how to rearrange this in previous slides. Just wind the video back if you need to go over that. If you're still confused about it, just let one of us know. We'll go through it with you. And if you put that into the calculator, that will give you a value of 8.00. And give yourself a tick if you got that correct. And the next one, we need to solve for both x and y again. Let's start once again with opposite and the hypotenuse. So that means we'll be using sine. So sine 71 equals 22 over y. Rearrange that, that becomes y equals 22 over sine 71. Pop that into the calculator and that will give you a value of 23.27. So that means that one here is 23.27. Alright, now let's solve for x. For x, we can use any of these two as because they both have the adjacent, and this is adjacent side, and because we know both the side lengths of the opposite and the hypotenuse. But I'm going to use TOA here, tan. So that means I'll be using opposite and adjacent, these two sides. So tan 71, sorry, that is our angle that we have, is going to equal opposite, which is 22 over x. Rearrange that, that will give you x equals 22 over tan 71. Just running out of space here, I'll draw an arrow over here and put that into the calculator. 22 divided by tan 71, that will give you a value of 7.56. Give yourself a tick if you got that correct as well. Alright, now that brings us to the end of our video. Hopefully you guys can all now identify whether we need to use sine, cos or tan, can rearrange an equation to solve for the denominator, and finally can evaluate the unknown side length in the denominator. Once again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all back online.
Boom! 2 + 2 is 4, -1, that's 3, quick maths.